Welcome to the FWOT Show on the Coil Entertainment Network, the Happy Hour Network, Village Connection Radio, iTunes, the Google Play Store, and good lord, wherever else you happen to have found it, because it's everywhere. I'm your host, Rob Steele. That's Jesus Jones in the background, and this is that mid-Monday show that lets you know it's not just you. The world has actually lost its collective mind, including me, as this is the April Fool's edition. I'm pretty sure you'll catch on as to which of the following stories isn't exactly true. Unfortunately, most of them are. For example, this past Monday, El Presidente Oopma Loompa recalled several of President Barack Obama's education initiatives. Basically, what he did was make sure that there are no national training requirements for educators and loosened school accountabilities. What he's saying is that who needs to have teachers who have an education, and why should the schools be held accountable for how effective they are at teaching? Is this a good idea? The words hell and no have immediately run through my head. Education is enough of a problem in this country as it is. When I was growing up, back in the 70s and 80s, we were one of the top educated countries on the planet. Now we're down somewhere in the mid-20s. There is a country in Africa that has beat us, and they don't have electricity. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad yet. Give him time. He's only been president for a couple months. It's on its way. He's trying to get rid of everything that actually makes sense in this country, like, the Environmental Protection Agency. Environmental protection, that's a good thing because we're going to need an environment to live in. Somebody hasn't caught on yet that if you get rid of environmental protection, then the environment goes away, and all of a sudden that golf course that you own in Ireland, the one that's washing away because the climate is changing, the ice caps are melting, the water levels are rising, and that's the reason you need to build that wall. Keep denying it. Go right ahead. That's why we need the EPA. But Donald Trump, in his infinite, I'm going to say wisdom, but I'm going to say it ironically, doesn't seem to understand the simple things. Or maybe he does, because if we get rid of the EPA, all of a sudden the big cities are covered in smog again. They're not now. Have you noticed? If you're in a big city, look out a window. Do you see as much smog as you did 20 years ago? Well, it's coming back. But maybe that's what Trump wants, because there is a minuscule possibility that Donald Trump has realized that all of Trump Towers are really gaudy and obnoxious, but he doesn't want to take them down and admit he's wrong. Therefore, he's going to surround the towers with smog so you can no longer see them and be offended by their gaudiness. I'm pretty sure that will soon be his story, and he'll be sticking to it. By the way, for those of you who think, oh, but Rob, he sent millions of dollars to Flint, Michigan to fix everything. No, actually he didn't. He's getting the praise for it, but that's not what happened. You see, after 3 years of being blocked by Republicans who think that fixing Flint, Michigan's water would be a good thing, which it would be, but they're assholes and, won't do it, President Obama finally got a bill through in December of 2016, and that is where this grant money came from that is going to Flint, Michigan to fix their water supply. It finally got pushed through in March. What did Trump have to do with it? Not a thing. Nothing. He's too busy golfing. Golf, that thing he said he wouldn't do, that thing he has spent more money on in his, 2 months of presidency than President Obama has spent in the past year? Hello? Of course, this is not the brightest administration ever. These are still the same people who have Michelle Bachmann. You remember Michelle Bachmann? Thankfully, this week, she was cited by Minnesota health inspectors for failing to properly keep patient records at her clinic. You remember her clinic? The one where you can pray away the gay? Yeah, that wasn't a good idea either, was it? And while we're at it, who thought this was a good idea? Iowa is trying to pass a bill that will grant the parents of unmarried women the rights to control their daughters' bodies, which means the parents decide whether or not the raped child can have an abortion. That sounds a little bit unconstitutional, actually. Not just ditch, but unconstitutional. But speaking of abortions, which is one of the extraordinarily few things that Planned Parenthood does, you see, Planned Parenthood, a lot of people haven't caught on yet, and I don't know why, because they do some magnificent things there, including birth control. You see, if you distribute birth control, then the births aren't there to be aborted, which is the problem people seem to have with them anyway, even though it's legal. I mean, I don't advocate using abortion as a birth control process, but it's there as a backup just in case, which is not the worst idea in the world. Anyway, Mike Pence just broke a tie in the Senate to allow states to defund Planned Parenthood. Because why would women possibly need health care like mammograms? Yeah, that's one of the main things they do there. Check women for cancer. Of course, there is always the Pat Robertson method of health care. He told a woman this past week who had multiple sclerosis that MS can be cured by exorcising a demon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new Dark Ages. In a case of bizarre car news, on March 22nd, a class action lawsuit was filed against Ford, claiming the transmission and differentials were overheating in the new Shelby GT350 Mustang. The idea behind this is that you can buy this new car and take it on track days where you drive it around a track. That's what it means. But Ford failed to disclose the absence of a transmission and differential cooler in the car, which basically means the car kind of melts. Good old American ingenuity at work. Thank you, Ford. That's why if you want to buy a car, buy anything but American. We don't know how to make cars anymore. Speaking of things that are American and somewhat sporty, Las Vegas has finally landed a Major League level professional sports team. Yes, the Oakland Raiders are moving to Vegas. And this is the second team to move this offseason, with my Chargers leaving San Diego for Los Angeles. No, I'm not bitter about that. But because it's legal in Vegas, there is already plans for a Raider-themed brothel. You know, that creates jobs. And job creating is good. And you know who else created jobs this week? Yeah, I'll go ahead and admit, Donald Trump created jobs this week. But he did it in kind of a stupid way. Actually, I'm going to remove one of the words from that last sentence. The word kinda. This is a damn stupid way. He approved the Keystone XL pipeline that Barack Obama had said, don't build that. It's a bad idea. And this pipeline is going to bring in a revenue of $2.4 billion to Canada. Yeah, Canada gets the money. We don't get the money. But it created jobs. Permanent jobs that people can have for a lifetime. You know how many? 35. 35, not 3,500, not 350, 35. I don't think this administration is particularly good with math. Would you like another example of that? How about earlier this week when Donald Trump tweeted, "The failing New York Times would do much better if they were honest." Let's look at that for just a moment. First off, they are honest. Trump has been caught in, I've lost track of how many lies, and failing. The New York Times doubled its subscriptions in 2016. Doubled. That means they make twice as much money as they did. How exactly is that failing? I mean, I don't understand what he thinks failing would be. Making more money is generally considered a good thing. But, I suppose spending money can be good too, like he's wanting to do on our military. And I might even agree with the military spending if the soldiers, the ones on the front line, the men and the women with the guns who are being shot at, were getting some of the money. But they're not. That would be the contractors who are getting money. Because the Republican logic is, this is war. Who needs soldiers? I think I found the stupid quote of the week, and strangely, it doesn't actually come from the Trump administration. It comes from San Antonio's Cornerstone megachurch leader, John Hagee, who said this past week, God made all lesbians flat so they could be identified by normal people easily. Really? First off, I know a number of lesbians who are not anything that could be considered flat. And Hagee believes that homosexuality is one of the things that's going to destroy the country. Not really sure how. He hasn't actually outlined anything on it. But I'm going to switch that and say no. It's counterfeit Christians like him who don't do unto others and make stupid remarks like that promote hatred among God's creations. Yeah, those are the bastards that are destroying the planet. Just saying. Last week, I mentioned a story about ISPs, your internet service providers, the ones who grant you access to the internet, and how they would be able to unquestioningly give up your browsing history. I would like to retract that. It's actually worse. Now, thanks to this regulation being removed, they can sell your internet browsing history to whoever the hell they want. So, if we follow this GOP way of thinking, your internet browsing history needs no privacy protection, but Donald Trump's tax returns do. Right. Gotcha. From this past Saturday, while it still exists, the Coast Guard announced the discovery of a small 7-passenger boat wrecked on a previously uncharted island. The remains of the crew and the passengers had been buried in coconuts by the sole survivor, the ship's first mate, William Gilligan. He says they had set out on a simple 3-hour tour in 1964 but got stranded on the island, and he's been there ever since, visited only once by, oddly enough, the Harlem Globetrotters. Now, what was this past Saturday, and what was I just talking about? If you know, you could win a free e-novel. Email me at rob@thefwotshow.com with your answer to that question. Or if you have questions or comments about the show, go ahead and email me there too. Don't forget to check out the website, thefwotshow.com. Subscribe to the show on iTunes or through the Google Play Store or wherever you happen to find podcasts. And there's a subscribe button. How hard is that? Don't forget to check out the Coil Entertainment Network YouTube channel where you can see kind of video versions of all the shows. And of course, don't forget to click on the link to the new Jesus Jones website. They're the ones playing the music in the background. They have a new album coming out soon. More details will be coming as they become available. In the meantime, have a good week, everyone, and be careful out there. People have gotten really stupid.